Okay, so today we're going to talk about endgames because I said so. Because kids love endgames, right, Jackson?
No.
Exactly, right. Because you're also good at it. Now, yesterday I did something I've never done before. Two people were playing, and they were playing so bad I double forfeited them for playing bad. I was like, get out of my chess center. Okay, now these players were experienced players, higher rated than all of you. They were rated 1,700. The other guy was also 1,700. And I started crying watching them play the endgame. Now, whenever that happens, I show my class. Because if they don't know how to play the ending, and they're higher rated than you, then, okay. So this was, no talking. Remember what I said? Okay, I played a game for you. Okay, so this was the position I saw yesterday in my chess center. It's 2 against 1, because I said so, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and let's see, is it big enough? Yeah. Okay, now this position is a draw if both sides play correctly, but nobody played correctly. So I think black won.
Pawn sacrifice f4.
What? You forgot the no talking rule and the raising your hand. You forgot all that. Okay, oh, you raised your hand, you're not supposed to. Okay, so first of all, f4 is not a pawn sacrifice because you trade the pawns. Okay, so in this position, if I was white, I would make 500 billion king moves and hope that my opponent made a mistake. Let me give you an example. I would go here. Most of you would make the losing move here. You would go there. And now after this, there's something you never heard of called Zugzwang. It's a German word. It means,
Zugzwang.
Remember no talking? It means compulsion to move. In this position, you don't want it to be your move because everybody has a perfect position. So if white moves, black just follows him, but it's black's turn to move. So that's unfortunate. Let's go here, I don't know. And now, if black could play king f6 or king g6, it would be a draw, but he can't. So white's king goes up the board, and eventually, white makes a queen. Making a queen is good. Those are the next 4 moves.
Can you show?
Yeah.
Can you show us the moves?
Yeah, I did. See the arrows?
This is probably
okay, so now, of course, black shouldn't play king e5. Black should make some random move. And if white plays king e3, then play king e5. And now we just follow him. Okay, and then you can't do anything. Yeah. Okay, however, that's not so easy. If I play king f2 against some lower ranked players, I might win. So you play king f2, you move your king around a lot, and you hope the opponent doesn't stop your king, and eventually you get in. Okay, but white didn't do any of that. White played f4. Okay, and now the game, if like 2 grandmasters were playing, the game would just end.
Yeah, because they know how to do king and pawn.
Exactly. Okay, so what should happen is takes, king f6, and we're gonna actually look at this position next. This is next. Okay, and this is a draw, but you have to know how to draw it. And actually, we were talking before class, right? Mm-hmm. And I asked you if you knew what stalemate was, and you started crying.
I know how.
And we're gonna talk about stalemate now. Hey, remember not to say anything. You.
So stalemate is when it's the opponent's turn and it doesn't have any moves.
What if it's your turn and you're in stalemate? Gotcha. What?
Stalemate is when
Man, 20 minutes ago she said what's stalemate. Now she's giving me the definition.
I know it's your move. It's your move, and then you can't move anywhere.
Right, and
you're not in checkmate.
Right, or check.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
But anyways, and you can't move other pieces.
Right, we're gonna get to that. Okay, now after f4, I was totally shocked because black was Sasha.
No.
And Sasha made like king f6. What? Okay, now black's losing. Okay, and you have to take that pawn. Now, if you don't know whether you should take the pawn, I have a rule. Okay, when you're playing an endgame and somebody's ahead, so white's ahead, 2 pawns to 1, right?
Yeah.
When somebody's ahead, the person who's ahead wants lots of things on the board. The person who's behind wants nothing on the board. I'll give you an example. Let's say you were playing an endgame and you had 5 pawns and they had 5 pawns, okay? Now I give you a knight. Now you have a knight and 5 pawns and they have 5 pawns. So that means you always win. Grandmasters are playing, they just give up with the 5 pawns. Okay, but if we have the exact same position, take all the pawns off the board. Now it's king and knight versus king. Then you can't win. That's a draw.
Yeah, because
So when you're losing or worse or trying to draw, you want nothing on the board. If there's nothing on the board, your opponent won't beat you. If there's a lot of things on the board, then your opponent will beat you. So black wants nothing on the board, so black should trade pawns. Then white wants lots of things on the board, so white shouldn't play f4. So that was a really bad move, f4. Okay, it worked out great, because black played king f6. Boo! And now, what's the only move? Raise your hand, and don't shout the answer out. There's a reason you raise your hand, and so I call on you. You like to raise your hand and say the answer at the same time. Very suspicious. Don't do that. Raise your hand. What's the only move white can make that wins the game? Because it keeps things on the board. It stops trading. It prevents, remember what I just said? You, Jackson.
F5?
F5? Right. So white played F5. Now there is no trading. Okay? Unless I'm playing a 1 minute game, then I do 1%. No. Okay. Now this was very funny. In this position, I thought it was funny. You guys might not find it funny. So in this position, everything wins. You can't not win. Okay? So if grandmasters were playing, black would give up. But white played here, and then his hand was still on, and he put it back, and then he went here. Important finesse, except not important.
Why did you do that?
I don't know what he was thinking. Like, I don't know why he didn't like this move. I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter what he does. They all win. If I turn the engine on, it'll announce checkmate. It'll take it about 12 seconds, I'm guessing. But I'm guessing. I don't know. Okay, it took it 1 second, so I was close. Okay, so this is that means it's mate with the number sign, with the hashtag. Yeah. Okay. And every move is made, doesn't matter what you do, because it sees all the way to the end, because there's nothing on the board. Okay. So anyway, white wins because what white does is he can walk his king up the board and black can't stop him. Let's say black tries to stop him. Well, now I make a queen. So the king has to babysit this pawn. You can't let the pawn queen. Okay, so then you queen. Okay, so black has to stay near that pawn, and then when he does, white can come in. Ow! Oh, I got the wrong person to move. Okay. Now, let's say black says, my pawn, I'm going to take this pawn, and then I'm going to queen. Right?
yeah.
That's way too slow. That didn't work, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think white queen first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, and Grandmaster all know how to do this position. You
Right,
always check the
and even non-grandmasters. Okay, now the way you win this position, assuming black continues the babysitting, okay, is let's say that black just stays where he's supposed to. All right, so here, okay, and this is actually what happened in the game. Okay, and eventually white wins because white just takes this pawn. And then, okay, and let's turn the sound off so that never happens again. Okay. Yeah, and then, yeah. Now, Robert Hess, who's a grandmaster, who's better than me, he's a lot better than me, and he has a degree from Yale. When that was happening, he's like, somebody make that stop, because he didn't know how to turn the sound off on his computer. It only took less than 1 second. Yeah.
Well,
They didn't teach him that at Yale. Okay, and what have you learned from that sentence? Go to Harvard. Okay, so I hope Matt Larson's not watching this. All right, and then white wins, and the computer announces checkmate. Mate in 7. Okay, and we push our pawns and queen them. Hooray! Now let's pretend we don't want to win. Like you're playing me and you don't want to win because I'm your teacher. Okay, so in this position, white has a move that does not win. In fact, white has 2 moves that don't win, but one's sort of silly. Giving all your pawns away is silly. But there's a move that looks pretty good, but it doesn't win.
G6.
Yeah, king g6. Right. And this is what we were talking about earlier.
Stalemate.
Yeah, a stalemate. Black can't move, but black's not in check. So now, if you play checkers, I'm not saying you do, but maybe you do. If you play checkers, then the game's over, but white wins. In checkers, when it's your turn and you have no way to move, you lose. In chess, it's a tie. Now, occasionally, you're crushing your opponent. You have an extra queen, and an extra rook, and an extra bishop, and they have nothing. Right, Jackson?
Yeah.
And in those situations, you don't want to stalemate them because you don't win. This is why you should never give up. You can have only a king, and your opponent has everything, and the game is still a tie because they stalemate you. Therefore, when you're winning and your opponent has almost nothing left, don't stalemate them. So is king g6 a good move?
No.
No, that's the game's over and then white doesn't win. You with some crazy comment. Make sure it's crazy.
If it was white's turn.
Oh, in this position?
Yeah.
Yeah, then checkmate's good.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It reminds me of Magnus Carlsen Blitz game.
It does?
He drawed.
Yeah, who was he playing? Me?
No.
Aw. Okay, was it you?
No.
When you drew Magnus Carlsen, did you wake up and apologize?
No.
Okay. Now the second position is the same. Now, this is the only position in chess that matters, is this one. And this can happen hundreds of different ways. This is just the end of it. It could be white's king is here, white's pawn is here, and black's king is here. As long as they're lined up like this. But this is the very end. Okay, it could be lined up like this, whatever. Okay, but we're lining it up here because now black has a very important decision to make. In fact, if they were lined up further back, it's not an important decision yet. This is the important decision. Black has 3 moves. Okay, there are no other moves because I said so. You can't make illegal moves, right? It won't let me. It puts it back. Okay, now one of these moves is good and the other 2 moves are bad.
I know the good.
I would recommend playing the good move. You had a point to make?
Yes. Lining up your pieces is not good.
What's not good?
Lining up your pieces.
It's not good? Why is that? Is there some voodoo curse?
It's a draw.
What? Okay. What?
So the only
Winning move?
the only move that's good is black retreats his king to f8.
Right. And king f8 is a tie if you play correctly. And if you play these moves, you'll lose. Let's find out why. Let's play a bad move. That way most of you feel at home. Right? Now I get the opposition, although that also wins. If you move your king away, I make a queen. So don't do that. So you go here, I go here, you have 1 legal move. I go here, and next move I promote to a queen. Hooray for me. Or if I was Nakamura, to a knight. And then it would be a draw, but that's a joke. Okay, so let's play the right move, king f8. Now, irrespective of whether white goes to e6 or g6, black will oppose the kings.
Yeah.
So if we go to g6, I go here, and if we go to e6, I go here. No talking. Now, after check, king here, it's black's turn to move, and as we discussed earlier, stalemate. Who wins?
Nobody.
White? Nobody. You?
So when black takes the opposition, the pawn has to check, and then it's stalemate.
Right. Okay. Now.
If white takes the opposition,
Right.
then
Now.
it's a win for white.
Now, let's say this only matters when your king goes to the back rank. If we had it lined up, let's say where they were. Why can't I go back? Really, I can't. Okay. Let's say they were lined up like this, and you would always want to go straight back, but you don't have to. The rule to remember is always go back and forth. So you go here, and then you go here, and then you go here. That's easy to remember, right?
Yeah.
You can't mess up. Okay? And it doesn't matter what white does. You just go back and forth. Occasionally, it will be illegal to go here because white put his king here or here. So you can't go here, can you?
Yeah.
Then you go here and oppose kings.
That would be check.
As long as you know those 2 things, oppose kings and move your king back and forth. Here's a mistake people make. The only reason you should make this mistake is if you're playing me. Okay? So here's a mistake people make. They see the king here instead of here, so they move here. Boo! Unless you're playing me. Okay. So it's easy to remember, move your king back and forth. So if you go here, now you lose. I go here, and I make a queen. So in this position, any position where your king is here and the pawn is here and it's your move, you always go straight back. You never go diagonally. And then you go straight up. Okay? Paula Abdul style, right? All right, somebody got the joke. When 1 out of a million people gets the joke, that's the Dennis Miller ratio. All right, good. Okay, so you always go back and forth and it's a draw. If you don't, you don't. Now I have to tell you a secret. Normally when people play chess, either they win or they lose. Okay? When they lose, Often, they don't understand why they lost, so they continue to lose. A lot of times my student will say, I lost. He crushed me. He's so much better than me. Wah. Then I look at the game. That's not what happened. What happened was my student was doing great. And then my student made one bad move, and that ruined everything. They thought the whole game they were losing. And I was like, well, the computer says you're winning. Then on move 22, you made this move, the worst move on the board, and now you're losing. And now you're like, you thought you were losing the whole game, but you weren't. That could happen here. If you were black in this position and nobody taught you, you might go here and you'd lose the game. And you're like, oh, well, I guess that was a losing position. That's why people need instruction, because they lose and they don't know why. Here, the reason black lost is he played king g8. Or he could play king e8 and lose. Also a way to lose. You could also lose in this position. You have two legal moves. You could make the wrong one. Don't do that. So if you play king g8, you lose. So don't play king g8. Play king e8. Then you don't lose. Okay? And when you're playing an opening or a middle game, and there's like 25 legal moves, sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes your opponent makes mistakes. And sometimes nobody notices because there's so many legal moves. Here, there's almost no legal moves. So if you make the wrong one, that can cost you the game. What do kids do wrong, other than everything? What kids do wrong is when they get to an ending, they start speeding up. This is actually very important. If you don't know the right move, you better play the right move. So playing in 1 second, that's not a good idea. Okay, you should think and be like, wait a minute, maybe one move wins, one move loses, one move draws. I better play the right move. And kids are like, oh, it's the ending. I'll move as fast as I can. And then every move is terrible. And then I cry. Okay. And this is before that. Now in this position, this is the same position I just showed you, but one rank closer to white. Here, you should go straight back. You should play this. But if you don't, you still don't lose. The only way you lose is when you do it at the end. Then you lose. If you make the wrong move, and now you have to make the right move, and you have 4 legal moves. You can move your king to all these squares. If you move to the wrong ones, you lose. There's only one that's right. Will the class all agree?
Yeah.
Let's vote. Ready to vote?
Yeah.
Who says that's the only move that draws? Who says that's the only move that draws? Who says it's that? And who says it's this? Right, that's the only move that draws. You always go straight back and straight and forward. Right. Now here, you should move your king here. It's easier, but luckily it doesn't matter yet. Okay, these positions are totally drawn, but if your opponent makes a mistake, then it's not totally drawn. In this position, black has 5 legal moves. Only one of them draws. The other 4 lose.
EA. It's king EA.
Wait, the correct shaking your head was correct.
Is it D7?
What?
D7?
The class is unsure.
D7.
D7.
Yeah, you have to go here. And the reason is, this is another secret. In almost every endgame, but especially king and pawn versus king, you want to move your king up. And if you want to move your king up, so does your opponent. So black can't move his king up because that would be cheating. However, white can move his king up if you let him. And the only move that doesn't let him is that. And if you let white move his king here or here, it's always a win. The king wants to go in front of the pawn so it can escort the pawn to a queen. The king's over here, white's not going to win. If the king's over here, white's always going to win because white wants to make a queen. If white's king is protecting the queening square, we just push our pawn to a queen. So this is the only drawing move. If you go here, this will surprise even Archer, maybe.
King D6.
Yeah, they both win.
Yeah.
Yeah. This wins easier because I just walk in.
Because king D6.
Yeah, but I mean the other move also wins. You can't let my king walk up. Yeah. So when you're playing chess, there's 2 things you want to think about: what you want to do and what your opponent wants to do. If your opponent wants to move their king up, don't let them. If you want to move your king up, you should try, but you can't. So you have to move your king back. And then white wants to move his king up. Now, conversely, in this position, once again, black has 5 legal moves. What's the only move that draws?
F7.
King F7. You have to stop your opponent from moving up. Now it's funny, there was a 4-year-old in Michigan who occasionally could mate with a rook. Not always. However, that wasn't the funny part. Whenever the kings were like that, he would say opposition out loud. Even in a tournament game. Opposition. Opposition. So that was funny. If he was 34, he'd get in trouble. He's 4, it's funny. So, opposition. Okay, position 4. Okay, now, most of you don't know how to mate with a rook, even if you think you do.
I know how to.
See, I told you. Yeah. Okay, now, when you checkmate with a rook, there's 2 things you have to do, and that's it. If you do them, you'll mate with a rook. If you're like, I forgot what that guy said, so I won't do them. You have to move your king towards the other guy's king. The other thing you have to do is stop checking every move. The more you check, the more bad moves you're playing. Let me give you an example. You would see this in a lot of scholastic tournaments. I don't think white's getting anywhere, right? Okay. Yeah, that's not, checking your opponent has nothing to do with winning. The way to win is to force your opponent's king to the edge. If your opponent's king is not there, there's no legal way to win. You can't win. You can't show me a checkmate unless black's king is on the edge of the board. Then you can show me a checkmate. So what you want to do is stop black from being away from the edge. So black wants to be on these 4 squares, and then you stop it. So black wants to be on these squares, and then you stop it, and then eventually black is on the edge. Now I always move my king towards the guy's king, and you'll notice if he goes here, I can't do that. I can't move my king towards his king. If I can't do it, then I move my rook. Okay, here every rook move is good. I'll show you what I would do. You would all go here because it's check. You can't help yourself. Okay, I would probably go here. And now you see how the rook does that? That means the black king can never go there. So half of the board is off limits to the black king. That's pretty good. Okay, now let's say black goes here, I don't know. Keeping in the 4 center squares, right? Now I would move my king up. I would go here actually, but that's too complicated. And now, can the king go here?
No.
No. Okay. Now if he keeps moving back, I'm going to keep moving up, and eventually it's checkmate. So I win. Checkmate. So black didn't play very well. What black should have done is black should have gone here. And now, again, you guys would check because you have to check. There's some compulsion you have. I would be like, well, I cut off all these squares so the black king can't go there. Now I'm going to cut off another one. So I play
Rook D1.
Rook D1. Yeah. Now, if black moved his king forever, he doesn't have too much of the board left. And if he moves his king back, I move my king up. So probably he goes here, right? Yeah. Now, every move is good. Probably I would check here, but I don't have to. But I just want the king to move back. Okay, if he goes here, now it's checkmate immediately. Wasn't that funny? Turn your head sideways, you'll see it. See, now this is the back row. As long as your head is sideways. Yeah. Okay. So obviously they should go back. I move my king towards his king. Can I move my king towards his king?
No.
No. Okay. And then, man, he's not doing too good, is he? Yeah. Okay. And now every move is made in 3. Every move. This is made in 3. This is every move.
Rook.
I can't not mate in 3. I would go here. I would go there, but it doesn't matter. Now after here, this is mate. You agree? And after here, what do I do?
King B6.
King B6, and then mate. Yeah. Also, a lot of kids think that's mate, but that's never mate. This formation of the king, rook, and king, that's never mate. Never. Because the king moves sideways. Yeah. Whenever you want to mate, your king opposes the king, and then you go on the side. Yeah. Okay, and this took 13 moves. That's pretty good. Okay. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to force the king to one of these squares here. Okay, checking isn't necessary. You can do it. But what's necessary is your king is near the other king. If you're not making king moves, you're not going to win. And since the king moves 1 square at a time, and the rook can move 1,000,000 squares, I would move my king more, because I need my king near their king. If my king's not near their king, I can't win. Okay? And when I watch a scholastic tournament, and directors don't know what to do, because you can tell in about 10 seconds if the kid can mate or not. When the kid can't mate, You just stand there until you die of old age. And what eventually happens is the director just stops the game and says it's a draw. Because the game would never end. The kids aren't keeping notation, so you don't know when it's 50 moves because nobody's writing their moves down. And then the guy with the rook is never winning. They're just making random moves. Nothing's happening. And if nothing happens for like 100 moves, we just say, okay, there's a draw. But if you know how to win, it should take you less than 20 moves to mate. If you don't know, maybe it'll take you 30 or 40. If you're going check, 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 you're never going to win. The only way to win is get your king near their king. And then you can win. And I always move my king towards their king if I can. If I can. See how I can do it?
Yep.
Man, that was good. And now it's made in 2 moves. Hooray! If they go here, raise your hand and don't yell the answer out. White has made in 2 moves because I said so. It's true. You with the right answer.
I think it's rook h7.
I said the right answer. Why'd you say the wrong answer? If rook h7, I go here. No, what a world.
Well, then you just chase him.
I said mate in 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You with possibly the right answer. When I say possibly, definitely.
Rook c1.
Right. Rook c1 stops the king from running away, right? So the king has to go here and then checkmate. Yeah. That was 7 moves. That was quick. The reason it was 7 moves is when I moved my king towards their king, they should stop me. But they were like, oh, you can move your king towards my king. Great. Okay. And once your king is close to their king, and in some kids' tournaments, I've seen this, checkmate.
Oh, yes.
And I'm like, what? Yeah, you can't move your king next to a king, so you can't do that. Yeah. Okay. Mating with a queen is a lot easier, but there's a risk, which never happens with a rook. When I say it never happens, it could happen, but you have to try hard. You can stalemate very easily with a queen. If you want to stalemate with a rook, you got to try hard. You can do it, but you're probably not going to do it. Could do it. Okay, now this is a pattern none of you know except me.
Oh.
I've seen this pattern a lot with 2 queens. Yeah, there's actually mate in 1. One move. And this is a funny pattern that I like.
Queen A to C3.
Yeah, I think that's the only mate.
Yeah.
I just like this pattern. That's mate, confusing the audience.
Yeah, I know.
And the reason it's mate is, and by the way, if the black king was here, it's also mate, because it's the same. Yeah, when there's 2 squares between your queens, they do a good job, don't they?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. They control every square. Wow. Right? That's every square the king can go to. Yeah? And it's check. That's a funny mate. Usually when people learn the ladder mate, or the staircase, yeah, they do that. That takes 1,000 moves. I prefer 1 move. Yeah. Now, if you have a queen and a rook, you can't do that, but with 2 queens you can. Now, you also could stalemate and not win. I actually don't see a stalemate. Maybe I'm no good. There has to be a stalemate. I don't see one. Wow, white can't blunder stalemate here? I guess not.
Yeah.
That's good. Now, when you have 1,000,000 pieces and your opponent has a king, that's the only thing you should think about is don't stalemate, don't stalemate, don't stalemate. Because if you do, you don't win. So when your opponent has just a king or just a king and a pawn or something, you better watch it. Because your opponent wants to get stalemated. That's the main reason they're not giving up. Also, never give up. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay, because giving up, then you don't do so well. All right, I showed you this already, but it was like 1 minute ago. So can you remember? The answer is no. Raise your hand and don't yell the answer out. Don't yell the answer out. Mate in 2 moves. Wait, I want to bet against you. Can I call Vegas and bet against you? All right, you. Yeah.
Rook to G6.
I mean, he's right, but he said the wrong move, but he's right.
I know.
But I think in Vegas, I would get the money. What did you actually mean?
G5?
Yeah. Man, now Vegas wants their money back.
Rook G5.
That's what he said.
Rook G5, King E8, and Rook G8 checkmate. Is the pattern.
Are you repeating what he said? Okay, so Rook, now black wants to run away, run. And white's like, I have a good idea. Why don't you go here? And then a good idea is for white. So white makes him go there. And black's like, no, I don't want to go there. Wah. And then he has to go there and then mate. Yeah. Now every move wins, but winning in 2 moves is better than 1,000,000. Now actually, I'll show you something funny. I told you it's really hard to stalemate with a rook. You could do it that way, It's really hard. You have to try to stalemate. With a queen, it's really easy to stalemate. With a rook, it's hard.
If you have a queen on g7, it would be checkmate.
That would be checkmate. Yeah, mating with a queen is easier. Sailing with a queen is easier.
What would stalemate if the rook is like on g7, g2, g2?
Okay, now this is sort of like the Lucena position, except it's not. Also, that's too hard for you except archer. Now, in this position, white wants to make a queen because that's good. But you can't take your own king, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, my king is blocking my pawn. I'll move my king out of the way. But the computer won't let you because there's a rook here. Okay, I'll move it this way. Now the guy checks you forever. And the only way to not be checked forever, there's two ways. One is to lose your pawn. That's probably not a good way to do it, right? And the other is to just go back to where you were so you can't check you. Okay, so the way to win is to stop him from checking you. Now, you have to think ahead. Is that your strong suit? Okay, so you want to play here so you can make a queen. But if you do, the guy checks you. So raise your hand. So what move should white play so he's ready to play king h7 and black can't check? You.
Doesn't he need to like, get his king to like the D file?
Well, that's not answering my question, but all right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do what Jackson said. He said, what's going on? Oh, I played the wrong move. Okay. So let's move the king to the D file. You can do it. Yeah, but now when I go here, you cry like a grandmaster. Now you can't save your pawn. What you want to do is play king h7, but he can't check you. Oh, bathroom's down the hall.
I think I know the answer to this. I think it's rook h1.
Yeah, rook h1 means you're thinking ahead. Is that what you guys like to do?
Yeah, I'm thinking outside the box.
So you're like, I want to go here, but he keeps checking me. So you go here, and then he never checks you.
Yeah.
Now he moves his king towards your pawn, I guess. And then you go here. And then he's like, aw, if you don't like that, you can go here. It's good either way. Okay, now, in the typical Lucena, so if you were black in this position, if you were black, the only way to stop that is to play
Rook h2.
rook h2. Then he can't play rook h1.
Yeah.
And now, let's make a random move. Okay, rook h2. Now, we can't play king here, and if we play king here, then he checks us. So white should play
Rook f3.
rook f3. Now he can't check us, and there you go, same thing. So you want to move your king, but he checks you, so you stop him from checking you, and then you move your king. Okay? And if he checks you forever, then you're not going to win. Although kids think that's really funny for some reason. The kid's sense of humor is not too good. I've seen many, many kids in a tournament, and it goes check, 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 in random positions, they both start laughing. I guess that's funny, I don't know. Not sure why it's funny. It's sort of funny. All right. Okay, I learned this when I was 13 years old in Pasadena, California. Right? At the US Open. You remember that, right?
No.
Okay. So, white's up 2 pawns because I said so. Right? Okay, that's good. And the bishops are different colors. One's on a white square, one's on a black square. That's his only hope. When you're losing and you're in an endgame, you want opposite bishops. If they're the same bishops, you're just going to lose. Now, if white plays here, then white can't ever do anything. Black can move his bishop back and forth forever. You can go anywhere, it doesn't matter. And there's no way white can win. Nothing he can do. That's a total blockade. So what white wants to do, since this move is no good, is play this move, e5. In this particular position, e5 is bad because we take everything, and this is a draw, you can't win. There's no way to mate.
There's no way.
Well, if f5 doesn't work and e5 doesn't work, that's not good. White wants to win somehow. So what white needs to do is play e5 check, but have his king protected. So for example, if we switched the king and bishop, if white's king was on d5, white would play e5 check. Although you take the bishop too. But the problem is, because of the setup black has, you can't do that. The reason is, this pawn is attacked. So if white gets his king to d5 or even d4, black just takes the pawn. Therefore, having said all of that, this is a draw. And the way to draw is for black to make sure he's always attacking this pawn. If black puts his bishop somewhere else, then he's going to lose. So what black has to do is put his bishop on these 3 squares. He can just move back and forth forever. And white has no winning plan. If white plays f5, the pawns can't move anymore. Plays e5, you take it. And king and bishop versus king is a draw. And if the bishop was here with the idea of sacrificing the bishop, he plays e5. Now white has some chances to win because black's not attacking this pawn. So now white could try to play king d5 and e5 check. But here he can't do that.
D4?
Who? Who about what?
What if the bishop was on c3 or something?
Here?
Can the king also play king g4?
Right, but why are you doing that? I'm going to go here. What's your plan? I'm going to go there, right? The only way to win is to play e5 check, but you got to do it without me taking all of your pawns. We talked about this earlier, but you forgot because it was earlier. Okay, earlier I said when you're losing or you might lose and you're defending, you want nothing on the board. So white has 2 pawns. If he goes here, then he has 0 pawns. Now you're talking. This may surprise some of you, not Archer. If white has a king and 2 knights, and that's it, and black has a king, that's a draw. But if we put some pawns on the board, and you're up 2 knights, then it's an easy win. But when there's no pawns, and in the end game, when you're losing or worse, or you think you might lose, you want there to be no pawns on the board. If your opponent doesn't promote a pawn, they're probably not going to beat you. You with some crazy comment.
So only 2 knights can checkmate if it has the help of...
Yeah, if the other guy helps you, that's a lot of help. You can lose if you want to, but you'd have to actually try to lose. So don't do that. Yeah. So is this a draw or does white win?
Draw.
Let's see what the computer says. Computer says white's better. If you play the computer moves, nothing ever happens. And eventually it'll get to 50 moves and it'll say draw. Notice how the computer does nothing with white. Nothing's happening. The computer likes white because white's up 2 pawns. But the computer doesn't know what to do. It just moves around randomly. And says, I don't know.
Let's just see.
Yeah. When I get to move 50, it'll say all zeros equal because it can claim a draw. All right, what move am I on? Yeah, now it's on move 39, and it sees all the way to move 50 and says, oh, okay. Right. It realizes that nothing's happening. Yeah. It still likes white a little bit. Oh, it actually played e5 to avoid the draw. That was funny. What? It played e5? When did it play e5? What? And now it says white's slightly better. You can't legally win. You couldn't lose if you wanted to. I mean, you guys could, but... Yeah.
They only count on the material.
Yeah, but what? I mean, 0.08, it's 8/100ths better. Okay, well that was silly. Computers are silly. Okay, now I'm going to teach you a secret. If this happens, it's a draw. What? Go back to the class in St. Louis for 1 o'clock. Okay, now this is a very easy win, and the way to win is to forget you have a pawn. Are you good at forgetting?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to forget we have that pawn. La 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 la. You can go la 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 if you want. Make sure you forget you have that pawn. Make sure you forget. Did you forget?
Yes.
Okay, now, if you didn't have that pawn, you would go here stalemate, right?
Yeah.
Now you can remember you have the pawn. Finally, you can remember.
E4.
1 move before stalemate, you can move the pawn anywhere. I would go here, and then you win. Yay. So when you have doubled pawns, don't move the back pawn. Okay, if you move the back pawn, then you might stalemate. Then I'll say boo. Okay, here's a good example. No, he's moving the back pawn. No, why is he doing that? Okay, well, he can still win with this. Yay. Okay. Now this position, if it's white's turn to move, it's a draw. Because if white goes here, it's stalemate. If white goes here, it's stalemate. But if it's black's turn to move, yay. Yeah. So double pawns win because you have this extra move with your pawn later. And the way to win, the easiest, is to pretend you don't have it. And then at the very, very end, right before stalemate, then you can move it. And then you win. Then you can get 2 queens if you want. Probably some overkill there, but if you want. The problem if you have a lot of queens, and like a couple weeks ago I had 9 queens, okay? The problem with a lot of queens is you might stalemate your opponent. Because when you have a lot of queens, they don't have anywhere to move. So you gotta watch it. I wouldn't have more than 2 queens. 3 queens, every move is stalemate. Stalemate's bad. It has vitamin S. Stalemate. Yeah, you need vitamin C for checkmate. Okay, this is a fun puzzle because you're too serious. Kids are too serious nowadays. This one's for fun. Okay, and there's actually a much harder one that's hard for me to solve, but this one's easy for me. Also, I know the answer. This is a puzzle I was shown when I was a kid. White wins, but white's not allowed to move his rook. The only time you can move your rook is the very last move, and then it's checkmate. Then you're allowed to. If it's not checkmate, you can't move your rook. The first move is easy.
Is rook G6? King G6.
King G6, otherwise you lose your rook. Yeah. And then here. And the way to win is you have to go around the rook. If you go here, you're not doing too much, right? Yeah. This doesn't accomplish anything. Yeah. That's not helping. Okay. The way to win is to go around the rook. And then you go here. And now this is funny. If you play King G8, they opposition you. So you play King H8. And then you chase them. Hooray! Okay. And now, if you stalemate them, that's bad. Right? Yes. So you go here, they have to go here, right? Yes. And then you go check. Now, black has 3 legal moves, right? Yes. Okay. If he goes here, that's pretty easy. Checkmate. If he goes here, that's pretty easy if you can figure it out. White has mate in 2. In fact, this is a normal mate in 2. If you could move anything, it's mate in 2. How does white checkmate in 2 moves? Does somebody else want to raise their hand who's not the usual suspects? Yeah.
King to C6.
It's on C6.
What?
It's on,
C7.
not there. You're close. Go the other way. What's that number?
C5.
C5.
Yeah, here.
5.
Yeah. Now black has 1 legal move.
King A5.
Yeah, and then checkmate. You have to turn your head though. Okay, so black should play King B8. That's the tough one. Because if it was black's move here, white would be very happy, but it's white's move. Now what a kid would do in a tournament, because I've seen it a million times, is just go here, 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 and then both kids would start laughing.
I know what to do.
What do?
You do a ready move, rook H.
Right, if you're playing in a real tournament, that's correct. Remember the puzzle? You can't move your rook unless it's mate.
Yeah.
Right. If you're in a real tournament, you would go here, and then black has to move.
Yeah.
But this is a puzzle where you're not allowed to move your rook. So what you do is you go back, never going back. You can go back anywhere. And now if he goes here, you do this. And he has to either walk into mate, or you chase him. And then there's no more, I can't go here. And then checkmate. Yeah. And that proves you don't even need to move the rook to win here or put him in check. Even though every move, kids move their rook and put him in check. They can't help it. In fact, in a kids tournament, I would also see this a lot. And then I would cry.
I'm going to start laughing.
Then the kids would just laugh, right? And I'm like, what? The chess isn't funny. This is serious. Okay, so when you want to mate somebody, remember, there's 2 parts to checkmate. The part you know and the part you don't know. That's why you're in class. The part you do know is check.
Yeah.
The part you don't know, even though you claim you do, is the king has nowhere to go. If the king has nowhere to go and it's check, that's checkmate. If you check somebody and the king can move somewhere, why'd you do that? And the answer is it's funny. No. So you don't want to make moves because they're funny. You want to actually mate your opponent. And so sometimes you don't check them so that later when you check them, it is mate. Okay? And so you don't need to move your rook to mate him, although that would be quicker. If I was white, I would go here. And then if they go here, I have mate in 2. And if they move the other way, then I make a waiting move. Bam! And now they have to, and I'm guessing that's the quickest. Is rook d7 the quickest? Was I right for once? oh no, I was wrong. I can make him go here. Oh, this is much better. Yeah, and then here. Didn't see that. That makes sense. And then mate. How could this stupid computer mate quicker than me? Yeah. I beat it in 4 moves, it took the computer 3 moves. Yeah. Okay, so in fact, when the computer mated the correct way with no funny rules, there still was no check. Right, all these rook moves, and then there's no check ever. It's the final check, that's check. What is checkmate? And so in the end game, what did you learn? Move your king up the board, promote your pawn to queens. If you're losing, get rid of your opponent's pawns, then you won't lose. When you have a bad position, make sure there's no pawns on the board. When you're winning, you want lots of pawns on the board, so you can get lots of queens, right?
Yes.
The closer to 0 pawns, the closer you are to not winning. And when your opponent has a king, and you have 1,000,000 pieces, I hope that's the case, don't stalemate them.
Don't.
Because you're like, oh, I stalemated again. I'm like, what, again? No, just do it once by accident, then go, oh, I'm so dumb. When's the last time I've stalemated in blitz chess? In slow chess?
Not really.
I mean, if I stalemate somebody in slow chess, it was over 30 years ago. Unless it was a forced stalemate, I couldn't stop it. I mean, like by accident, like, oops. Yeah, I don't do that. In a blitz game, I've done it by accident. Actually, one of my greatest victories, which was a draw, I was playing a higher rated grandmaster in the Pro Chess League a year ago, and he was destroying me, and I found a way to stalemate my king and hope that he didn't notice, and he didn't, and then I gave my rook away and he had to take it, and then it was stalemate. And he just thought he's winning because he was winning, and then I forced him to stalemate me, and then I drew instead of lost. Yay. I remember that. I wonder if he remembers it. Yeah, he remembers it. There. So you remember things like that. You're up 4 queens and you stalemate, right? Don't do that. You with some crazy comment.
If you had every queen on each rank and you had a key on the E file and the opponent's key on the E file, you would never win. Could win.
Partial credit. You.
By the way, you can't have 1,000,000 pieces on the board. There are only 64.
That's because you're not a grandmaster.
Okay.
Also, you only start with 16 pieces, right? And so does your opponent. The only way to have more, other than other variants, is Bug House. Who's played Bug House? Yeah. In Bug House, you get your opponent gives you. Actually, before all of you were born, we actually did this once. Other people do it a lot. I haven't seen it in 20 years. You can actually play Bug House with lots of boards. Most people just play with 2.
Team.
And then, I mean, you just have like 7 against 7. You can throw pieces across the room. Yeah. I've seen that done, but that's pretty rare. When you do that, it's over immediately. When you have 6 people give you pieces, somebody gets mated real fast. When it's 2 against 2, the game could go several minutes. When it's like 6 against 6, it's like in 30 seconds somebody's mated. Because you could have like 30 pieces in front of you. So you're going to mate the guy. Yeah, Bug House is fun unless you're playing it, then it's no fun. Yeah. Fun watching it. Yeah. All right, you guys did well. Now be careful. There's 2 guys playing a match. What school did they go to? Old school. So if they're still playing their match, don't make a lot of noise. Make a little noise. Right? All right, and what would Gene Wilder say, Archer?
Class dismissed.
Class is dismissed. Yeah, exactly.